to us loud and clear, reminding us of why we are here. Faith, it gives us purpose. That every time our heart beats in our chest, we are reminded who created it. And if you lack faith, if you have your questions and your doubts, I'm here to tell you today that that is okay. That doubt is not the opposite of faith, but the opposite of faith is self-sufficiency. It's thinking that we can live our life alone, not in need of the throne. We seek the fame, the glory, and to be known, and maybe control of your life is what you seek. But the only reason why you have your life is because a man thought you were worth the sacrifice. See, faith gives us peace. Faith gives us rest. Faith will change your life, I confess. Faith tells us not to lose heart. Faith gives us a brand new start. Faith tells us we will never go hungry or never go thirsty. And faith tells us that Jesus will give us his unconditional love and mercy. So when life puts a mountain in front of you, faith tells that mountain to move. And when the walls of Jericho feel like they are surrounding you, faith says those walls will come crumbling down. And when you feel too weak to walk, faith says get up and go. See, having faith is more than just saying I believe. It's a commitment. It's vowing to live a life that is different. So I ask you today, I have faith. Are those 3 words enough for you to change your life around? Are those 3 words enough for you to live a life that's profound?
Matthew 15 verses 21 to 28. Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. But he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and urged him, saying, Send her away, for she cries out after us. But he answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. And she said, Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour.
All right, guys, another conversation with Jesus. And today we're going to hear and learn about a Canaanite woman who has a place and a time in front of Jesus and a conversation with him. And there's so much to learn from this. And I get so excited when I just reread things, and just every time I read the Bible, new nuggets of gold come in, and just the Lord really speaks to me. All right, so let's go. So we've just read Matthew 15 verses 21 to 28. Okay, there is another recording of this actually in Mark chapter 7 verse 24. You can go and read this. Mark writes it down as well, his account of what happened. But today we're going to use it from Matthew 15 verses 21 to 28. Okay, my question before we start is, have you ever heard the question that Christianity is our crutch? Usually people who don't know the Lord, or who kind of don't understand Christianity and why we lean on Jesus, they sort of mock us and say, well, Christianity is just a crutch to help you get through life. It's just an excuse. Well, yes, it is an excuse, because Jesus came to seek and save the lost. So let's go to Mark chapter 2 verse 17. All right, Mark chapter 2 verse 17, and it says, On hearing this, Jesus said to them, It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. So here we can see that Jesus' mission is to come and seek and save the lost, come and seek and save the sick, the spiritually ill and the morally ill. And again, we learn this in today's story. So let's get started. The Canaanite woman. All right, in verse 28, we can see that they've arrived in this region of Tyre and Sidon. Okay, And here they've reached this place, and Jesus, he's now wanting to recline a little bit and have a bit of quiet time. And once again, people have heard that he's there, and he's unable to do that. And including this woman, she's from around the area, and she's heard that he has arrived, and she goes in pursuit of him and finds him. Right, I want to point out first of all that Jesus has purposely gone to visit this region. Okay, the Jews are nearby, but he has again, in his good timing and his good purpose, come to this place so that he can have a conversation and meet with her. So we can learn three things from today's story. That Jesus, firstly, and we're going to learn about it, is teaching his disciples a lesson. Secondly, that God's grace is for the Gentiles and it is for everybody, not just the Jews. And thirdly, we're going to learn about persevering faith. So Jesus, as I'd mentioned, he tries to hide, but he can't because this woman appears. And she's begging for mercy for herself and mostly for her daughter who is demon-possessed. So let's get into this conversation with Jesus. First of all, did you notice that he ignores her? So let's go to verse 23, and it says, Jesus did not answer a word. Because she had said to him, my daughter is suffering terribly from demon possession. And Jesus did not answer a word. Jesus ignoring somebody, does that sound right? And then after that, the disciples came to him and urged him to please tell her to go away. Does that sound like the Jesus that we know and that we learn about? Let's quickly jump to verse 26. And it says, he replied, it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to their dogs. So I wanted you to note here that the word dogs, in those days, it was a derogatory term for the Gentiles. The Gentiles were not popular, especially amongst the Jews, and they used to sometimes refer to them as that. That is so unkind. Those are not words that you would expect to hear from Jesus. And it's strange, don't you think? But there is a purpose to it. So let's go and find out what it is. Right, firstly, it's because he knows that she knows that he is Jesus, that he is the Messiah, that he is the one. And here he is actually trying to teach his disciples a lesson. He is showing God's grace to the Gentiles in a very striking way. And it's almost as if when he's talking to her about this, when he's talking to, let's just go and have a look at verse 24. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. And then she pleads again, Lord, help me. And then he says, it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. It's almost as if he's looking at his disciples in the eye, but he's trying to explain something and teach something to the woman and his disciples in a different way. So let's go and find out what this is. All right. So in spite of him speaking this way and using the words that he does, she is undeterred. Can you see that? She doesn't give up. She perseveres. So let's just read. She says, first of all, she comes up to him at first and says, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter's suffering from demon possession. And then he replies to her, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. The woman came and knelt before him. She laid herself down and said, Lord, help me. And then he replied, it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to their dogs. She says, yes, Lord, she said, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their masters. She is not giving up. She's persistent. She is determined. Why? Because she knows that he is the Messiah. She knows that he is her Lord. And she knows that without a doubt, he can heal her daughter. All right, she doesn't give up. And so because the disciples see the Gentiles in one way, he says to them, it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to their dogs. here he's trying to teach his disciples and this woman. So when he says it is not right to take the children's bread, he's trying to say here that the bread, he's the bread of life, and that it's not right that what he had come for the Israelites, that they were the chosen people, that it's not right for him to share what is rightfully theirs with her. But he gives her a window. Here comes the lesson. It's that he gives her a window and says, it is not right to take the children's bread, the bread that belongs to the Israelites, and toss it to the dogs, which can give it to the Gentiles. And she says, yes, Lord, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their masters. So she's like, you've given me a window, like I'll even eat the crumbs. I'll take whatever you can give me, even if it's the crumbs. And here she's like, you're saying, like, I've got a chance at this. I will take whatever chance I can get. Why? Why does she sit there and beg and persevere and even acknowledge that she'll take the crumbs? And it's because she understands, again, who she is talking to. She understands who she is in front of. I just got to say something. If you look in verse 22, she says, Lord, Son of David. Here she is showing that she has more insight than the disciples do at this stage. And she refers to Jesus as Lord 3 times. So the woman's response to Jesus, this teaches us this. Firstly, who Jesus is. Secondly, it teaches us about prayer, about being persistent, about being faithful in prayer. And it teaches us about the want of faith. It teaches us to be persevering in faith. It teaches us about Jesus' mercy. And it teaches us about Jesus' Gentile mission. He came not only for the chosen, not only for the Jews. Remember, we read in Mark 2 that he came for the sick, okay? This, he's trying to show us here in the story that he not only came to bring bread for the Jews, but he also came, and there's a window for him to show his disciples that he came also for the Gentiles, to show them mercy. And this Greek-speaking Gentile woman is standing in front of Jesus, her Messiah. And her identification of Jesus is more insightful, as I said, about the crowd. And here she's showing complete confidence and whole trust in him. She is resistant and she is relentless, and she's put her whole complete faith and knowing and trust in Jesus. Guys, when last did you come before the Lord with a request? When last were you persistent in prayer? When last did you kneel before the Lord and prostrate yourself and just completely come before the Lord and acknowledge who he is, that he is Lord, the Messiah, and just really ask him for mercy, ask him for help, and ask him for the needs of others? Okay. So, what are the main lessons that we can take from this? Firstly, that Jesus seeks us. Remember how he seeks out the woman at the well, okay? Here, he is seeking her out, and that he seeks the lost. We've already read that in Mark 2, okay? And here again, he's trying to teach the disciples that he's coming purposely to this region, not the Jews, to this region, to seek out this woman, the Gentile woman. And this woman is a picture of intercessional faith. Do you notice that it's a mom coming for her daughter? When last did you come with persistence and prayer on behalf of somebody else? And just keep praying with absolute faith and just keep pressing in, persevering faith. When you know who Jesus is, like this woman shows us that she knew who Jesus was. So when you know who Jesus is and what he can do for you, because she knew what he could do for her, when you go knowing what he can do for you, somehow it affects the way in which you pray. It affects your perseverance in prayer. It affects your approach to Jesus. It affects your approach in your faith, in your persevering faith in Jesus. She teaches us to intercede for our loved ones. As I've asked you already, when last did you do that for your friend or for your family member? I just want to ask you, there's always, like in every grade when you're at school, in every sort of age that you're at, there are always those people that are different, the outcasts, the ones that are nerdy, the ones that are just different, that nobody really, you're all polite to, but you don't really hang on to. Guys, the way that Jesus takes himself purposely to another place, when last did you purposely take yourself to go and sit with the outcasts in your grade? When last did you purposely go and chat to the nerd or the one that's a bit quirky in your friendship group? Remember, Jesus came and sat with the tax collectors. He came and sat with the leprosy. He came and sat with those that were outcasts in society. Here again, he's teaching us, it's not only about us who know him, it's about those that he's seeking out, the lost, the sick. So how are we helping him? We are his vessels. Now that we know Jesus and accept him, firstly, my question to you this week is, how well do you know Jesus? And secondly, what are you doing for him? Okay, and again, I just want to remind us in just 3 last verses that Jesus came not only for the saved, for us that he knows, for his chosen people, but he came for the lost. You and I would not be saved. You and I would not be his as if he did not come to save the lost. All right, let's go and look in Matthew 8, Matthew chapter 8, verse 10 to 12. Okay, and it says this. When Jesus heard this, he was astonished and said to those following him, I tell you the truth. I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west, and will take their place at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. Here he's saying that salvation is for everybody. It's not just for his chosen people. It's for people from the west, from the east, from the north, from the south, the Greek, the Jew, the South Africans, the Indians, whoever. It does not matter. He has come to save the world. All right, let's go to Psalm 87, verse 4. Psalm 87, verse 4. And it says this, I will record Rahab and Babylon amongst those who acknowledge me. Remember Rahab? She was the one who helped the guys who were going to go and look at the city, and she hid them in a room, and then later on she let them escape out a window. All right, she was not a Jew. She was an outsider, and yet she will be remembered by Christ. She is down in God's word because she is one of his, and so are we, and so he has come to seek out the lost. All right, let's go to 1 John 2 verse 2. 1 John 2 verse 2. And it says this, he is the atoning sacrifice for our sins, and not only for ours, but also for the sins of the whole world. Isn't that amazing that we serve an almighty God, that he is not selfish, that he is selfless, and that he sacrificed himself for each and every one of us? That is something that we can definitely take away with us this week, guys. So I really hope that you have learned 1 or 2 small things in this lesson this week, and that we can really start to apply it to our lives. And so go read it again, go pray on it. I encourage you to keep doing your quiet time, spending time before the Lord, growing in him, learning more about who he is. And then next week we'll have another conversation with Jesus and learn more about who he is. So for now, guys, have a great Sunday, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
reaches through you to the darkest hidden place. It knows your deepest secrets, but it never looks away. It's the gentle hand that pulls you from the judgment of the crowd. When you stand before them guilty and you got no way out. Some may call it foolish and impossible, but for every heart it rescues, it's a miracle. It's nothing less than scandalous, this love that took our place. Just call it what it is, call it grace. Call it grace. It's the breath that's breathing new life into what we thought was dead. It's the favor that takes orphans, placing crowns upon their heads. It's the hope for our tomorrows, the rock on which we stand. It's a strong and mighty fortress, even hell can't stand against. Some may call it foolish and impossible, but for every heart it rescues, it's a miracle. It's nothing less than scandalous, this love that took our place. Just call it what it is, call it grace. Call it grace. Call it grace. Amazing, unshakable.